I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. You're looking live at PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is a Wednesday edition of the program. That means we'll have JC here in just a second. We'll have Franz Beard from Gator Media. Get his thoughts on Gator athletics as we put a wrap on it and move to college football season. Some sad news report, man. It's heartbreaking. Ryan Mallett, who originally went to Michigan, then played a lot of ball for the Arkansas Razorbacks at quarterback, played in the NFL for a while, died, I guess, yesterday or the day before in a riptide current, what have you, in the Destin area near a sandbar. With some friends. They were just swimming. So, JC, you're on the Titan hotline. Just hard to believe, man.
Well, I hated hearing that news. And, I remember him playing for Bobby Petrino at Arkansas, and that was the last time I can remember Arkansas really being a team that you had to really be careful with because he knew how to call the plays for Ryan Mallett. Mallett knew how to execute those plays, and Arkansas was a real threat in just about every game they played. So, it is tragic. I mean, he's just too young. I think he was in his, 32?
He's 35. He'd just been
35.
named head football coach of a high school in Arkansas, head football coach. He was with some buddies. I don't know if it was families or just buddies. They were at a sandbar swimming back, and he got caught in a current. And I saw on the news this morning that in the Destin area there, they've had 55 deaths just in the last couple of months due to the riptide or the current, whatever it's called. So,
folks, I can tell you this. I've lived in Florida just about my entire life, and I will tell you that a lot of tourists and a lot of folks who are not from Florida or from the beach areas, they panic in these riptide things. And there are simple things you can learn and do to save yourself from riptides. One of them is to just let it take you out, maybe swim sideways and not panic. That's the biggest thing. And so, folks don't know this. And I think a lot of folks that visit Destin are tourists. And so this is what happens, and it's a tragedy. It's terrible, but you really have to be careful. You have to watch those warnings out there on the beach. When they have a red flag up there, understand what that means, and be careful. Don't go too far out, But at some point, we all learn from these kinds of tragedies, and it's just awful for his family and himself and his friends, of course. So I feel terrible about that news. So, QB, I wasn't here on yesterday's show and, the game Monday night. I don't want to belabor anything that you've already probably talked about on Tuesday and be repetitive. But I'll just say this. It was a bad night to maybe have your worst pitching performance of the year. But I'm telling you right now that everybody is capable at any point during the year, including on the last game, which is the most important game potentially, to have a bad night. And he just had a bad night. I'm talking about Jack. And it wasn't just Jack. The whole pitching staff was exposed.
Yeah. You go back to if you look at the big picture of the 3-game series.
Yeah.
Going into that 3-game series, Florida had Sproat and Hurston, Waldrop.
That's right.
And then you had Cags, but your top two dudes that are studs, and out of those 3 pitchers, you only get 7 2/3 innings combined.
That's right. And
that tells you right there. That's the story. It has nothing to do with did the first 3 or 4, the front part of the lineup hit. Look, that's part of it. But when you rely on your great pitchers to not get it to get it done, and they didn't, and it happens. It's baseball. It's nobody's fault. It's just it's unfortunate. But it was a tremendous year, and of course, Twitter wants to fire Sully. All those people that want to fire him need to go find another damn team to root for. Don't get me on my damn rant again today. I wanted to bring this up. Zach says real quick on Facebook Live, I'm trying to see what his question is.
Well, QB, while you look at that question, Sproat 4 innings, Waldrop 2 1/3, and Cags 1 1/3. And that's, Kevin Brockway tweeted that. And And that's exactly right. I mean, that is the result. But LSU, we also have to remember this team they're one of the best teams you've ever seen. They really are.
Both of these teams were unbelievable.
Great teams, both of them, absolutely. And you look at the last 4 years: Vanderbilt in 2019, Mississippi State in 2020, Ole Miss in 2021, LSU in 2023. You have to be great to get through the SEC and to win these kinds of things. And that just tells you everything you need to know. I mean, Florida won it in 2017. Vanderbilt won it in 2019. And then they didn't play it in 2020. So you got 5 out of the last 6 champions as SEC teams. And, look, Florida beat LSU last time. So, we'll call it even. But I wanted to also bring up one last thing, too. And in spite of what one guy may have done at that damn bar, they had 68,888 Jello shots. I just keep bringing this up. I don't know why. But that's absurd. And that amount cost – they spent $324,040 on Jello shots at the College Baseball World Series.
I saw that. I think Rocco's made $470-something thousand, but they're giving all the proceeds are going to a food bank. I think it's outstanding.
But good for them.
But yeah, them damn Cajuns are crazy. So Zach asked here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Shane, are the Gators after any known big-time transfers, Burns or the 2-way starter? I think Burns is the stud pitcher from Tennessee who's in the portal. We are getting Alabama's All-American third baseman, who a lot of people who hit like 25 home runs last year. I believe he's going to move to shortstop. Since Rivera's leaving. We have an All-American pitcher coming from UCLA. We have a catcher coming from Coastal Carolina, where that worked out pretty good with Bradley Riopel.
Yes.
And we'll have more coming. So my question is, and I don't, this is just very interesting to me. First of all, when you have Tim Corbin is the highest paid. I think he makes $2 million. He's the highest paid coach in baseball at Vanderbilt. Sully's around 1.4, somewhere around there. But what's interesting to me is, JC, is, when the Kirby Smarts and the Nick Sabans win all these national championships, it's what NFL team's going to hire them. You never hear a Major League Baseball team going after a Sully or a Tim Corbin or, back in the day, the Skip Bertmans of the world.
Yeah,
it makes no sense to me. They'd rather go get some dude who's been on, their manager for their AA club. But has that ever crossed your mind? I don't know why I thought about that today.
No, that's very, very interesting. I have not, to be honest with you. You're right. The major league guys just hire the bench coach or the bullpen guy or some recycled guy from another team. That's the thing about these professional sports. Football, I think, is the worst in the NFL. You just recycle coaches. They just regurgitate from one team to the next. And generally, when a coach fails as a head coach, he goes and he's an assistant somewhere else. And then as success comes back to that team and that coach, he gets elevated again. Brian Flores. So, there's plenty of examples like that, but you just have to look. But I hear you. It is interesting, and I don't know the answer to that. I couldn't tell you. I know that these college coaches have a lot to deal with in terms of recruiting, just like the pro guys do with the farm systems, but I don't know the answer. No idea.
Yeah. We got a couple of Facebook Live comments here. Gene says, JC with the Reds hat seems like a front runner move. Is he giving up on his Yankees? And speaking of the Reds, Andy says, JC sporting the Reds cap. What do you think of Ellie De La Cruz? He's breathing life into the Reds. Do you even know who that is, JC?
Yeah, he plays for the Reds. Reds are in first place. Reds.
What position does he play?
Shortstop.
Is he the one that hit for the cycle?
Is that right or wrong?
I don't know. They had some dude hit for the cycle the other day. I do know that.
I think the Reds are a great story, just kind of like what the Pirates were a couple of months ago or a month ago. I want to see these smaller market teams be competitive. And, the Yankees just have really, really disappointed me. I mean, Oakland lost last night. They lost to a minor league baseball team out there in Oakland, 2-1 in front of about, 4,000 fans. And the thing is that when you see a team like Cincinnati who's been down for so long, fill the ballpark, the great American ballpark, dude. I'm not trying to spend
that thing's been there since I played for the Bengals in like the early 2000s. Ain't
right.
new.
I know, but it's never been filled, and it's been so long for that organization, and just seeing them in first place and having 40,000 fans in the ballpark. You know, I like what the Texas Rangers are doing right now with some of their players, and yeah, they built them a ballpark with a roof on it. Then, of course, we have the Tampa Bay Rays, lowest payroll in history of professional sports, and there they are just running away with the division in the American League East. I don't know. I like to recognize that, and I think it's a cool hat, man. I used to hate the Big Red Machine in the 70s because they were so damn good, and they beat my Yankees in 76, but you know, that was when baseball was different for me. I mean, Monday night baseball, Saturday afternoon baseball, and This Week in Baseball with Mel Allen on Sunday.
Oh, that was a great show.
Oh, it was a great show. And then the exit. And it's just so great. And we don't get that now. We get it. You know, we got total delusion. My God, by the way, it's raining. Just so you know, it's raining in Western Gainesville. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, the Reds, you know, we'll see what happens. It's a cool hat there. You got to admit, it was a Chicago Bears C. I mean, it's almost like the same. Yeah.
Daniel says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon Law. Hey, JC, did you ever make your diet goal? He's seeing the south side of 200 himself for the first time in years. What about JC?
I give you credit. I have not hit that watermark yet. And admittedly, I've just been very poor at discipline. And yeah, the bad thing about that, QB, is that football season's in 2 months, and there is no discipline during football season.
Well, you know, JC, so you have 2 months to get in shape.
Yeah. Yes.
Get in pregame tailgating shape.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So at Ruse Ogre State Farm office, they get in shape. They're a team of dedicated insurance professionals who stick to their diet, and they're ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779.
My problem is I just like to eat. I love eating, and occasional beer, but it's about portion control, and I have no control.
No portion.
But I have gone to this one restaurant. They serve you a 6 bowl or a 4 bowl, right? So I've gone from the 6 with 2 proteins, 2 bases, and 2 vegetables down to a 4, and I've swapped out one of the. Yeah. So I mean.
That sounds like great discipline right there.
It's also about $4 cheaper. So yeah, I'm working on that, QB.
All right, we got a bunch of text here on the Titan MR text line.
Doors wide open. Air conditioning.
Josh says from Mississippi, says, QB, have you ever been asked to be involved with a recruiting weekend or dinner with potential recruits at Spurrier's? If you were asked, would you let those talk to those kids about the University of Florida and playing football there? I have not. They don't have a whole lot of old guys because here's the thing. Those damn people have no idea who I am. Those kids don't even know who Steve Spurrier is. A lot of them don't even know who Tim Tebow or Emmitt Smith is. So, no. Josh also asked, QB and JC, did you know that Florida football has never had a perfect season, but that Miami, FSU, and UCF have? I think we're due at some point. We ain't going to do it this year, Josh, or next year. But the perfect season's hard. It's hard to do in our conference. I mean, even Alabama can't even do it.
It's very hard, and
although Georgia did it, right?
Georgia's had some, but you're right, and it is hard, and everything you said is absolutely correct. But Georgia's schedule, dude, they don't play a certain amount. It's just the league has definitely given them favor in the scheduling department, and that is undeniable. You cannot explain to me how in 12 years or however long they never had to play at College Station, and Florida's been there 3 times. I'm sorry. I will harp on that until it makes people sick because it makes me sick. So we'll all be sick together. But that's the point, right, QB? I mean, so in 24 schedules will get a lot more interesting. I already told some folks I'm heading to Madison, Wisconsin for Alabama, Wisconsin. I want to go to Norman, Oklahoma for Alabama.
Is that this year?
In 24. And I'm going to head to Oklahoma and Norman, Oklahoma for Alabama, Oklahoma. I'm going to Austin, Texas for Florida, Texas. You know, hopefully by then 6th Street in Austin will be a little cleaned up. It's an absolute disaster, but they will clean it up, hopefully. I think that's been announced that they're trying to get some things taken care of, if you know what I mean, there on 6th Street in Austin, because I want Gator fans to see a place like that, but I want them to see it when it's nice and when it's not riddled with all kinds of bad things. And that's part of the experience. When Florida plays at Texas, you've got to go to Austin because you haven't been. And that's one of the reasons why. But the other reason why is because when it's nice, it's a fabulous, fabulous place. Nashville's great, right? Austin's great. Austin's great.
Well, Austin's now the biggest. It'll be the biggest city in the SEC.
Sure will. There's not.
Is it big? It's bigger than Nashville, right?
It's close. I mean, now Nashville's grown amazingly, but I don't care. I don't consider Vanderbilt.
We don't really count them.
Right. We don't count them. We haven't counted them on this show in how many years now? But yes, I think Austin.
And yes, people are going to chime in that we lost to Vanderbilt last year, which we did, but I still don't count them. I count them in baseball. That's about it.
There you go. That's true.
All right, JC, let's get to our Peachland Dental. Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. It's time for the Peachland Dental golf picks.
Okay.
Last week, my golfers finished higher than yours.
They did.
Real quick, John says, Danny and Rex could walk around the football facility and none of the players would know who they were. You're exactly right. I've walked through there multiple times and ain't a damn. And here's the other thing. I'm on the damn plane with them. I walk through the hotel. Them dudes ain't got a clue to who I am.
No, I mean they're teenage. They're what, 20 years old? I mean,
think about that. They weren't even. These dudes were all born in the 2000s, right?
They were born when Les Miles, or was it? No, it was Nick Saban. It was Nick Saban. They were born when Nick Saban won his first national title in 2003 for the LSU Bengals. Think about that. All right, so QB.
All right, so the Peachland Dental. Since I had the highest finisher, I get to pick first.
That sounds fine.
I'm going to take Hideki Matsuyama.
Oh,
this is the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit.
It is the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit, and I'm going to take the defending champion and a guy who I think will be 20 under par or better, and that's Tony Finau.
Oh, he won this last year, huh?
He killed this course last year. He won it last year, and just
here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the dude who's playing really good golf. And he's got Rocket Mortgage on his damn golf shirt.
You're going to take that? It's my guy. I want him.
Slick Rick Fowler.
Yeah, that was the next pick. Oh, my God. You took my pick.
You know they want him to win the damn thing.
I do. They do. And, I looked at him and, I was feeling sorry for him after the U.S. Open when he shot 75 in the final round. Then I saw his earnings for just this year alone. I don't feel sorry for him anymore. He's having a hell of a year, QB. He's having a hell of a year, and
he's probably he might be the most liked player on tour.
He's always gracious when he congratulates his friends who seem to win majors, and
he handles his fan base. Yes. He signs autographs for youngsters. I love him.
Great. He's absolutely great, and California guy, just very cool and laid back, and we root for him because of just what you said. So we'll see. The next major is in Hoy Lake in Liverpool, England, which is just north of Wales. In case you need a geography lesson on that, QB.
All
right, I'm going to go with a guy who I think for the first time in 2 months actually played good golf, at least scoring wise, and that's Justin Thomas, who's been awful here in the last month. But I think this is the kind of course that they can just absolutely destroy, especially if the conditions are right. So.
Yep. I'm going to take Ju Young Kim, better known as Tom.
Is it going to be an every week thing?
Yes, I love Ju Young.
Why?
He's so damn funny to me.
I
told you he looks like a Build-A-Bear.
He's
20, youngest dude on tour.
A hell of a great talent too. Very, very talented player. Very good. Now, I got to take somebody off the grid a little bit here because these kind of tournaments sometimes provide a new name for us. And maybe a guy, a first-time winner kind of thing. So I'm going to take I think I'm looking here. Oh, I like that. Oh, I don't know. That guy hasn't won in a long time. Maybe hasn't won. Wow. I was going to take Nick Watney, but I'm not going to take him. I'm going to go with I don't like him either. Gosh, I'm starting not to like this list of players. All right. I'm going to take Colin Morikawa.
All right, you got a Cal Bear Morikawa. My last pick, I'm going to take Austin Eckroat.
He's had a hell of a year too. Big year.
Greg asked here on Facebook Live, how is the Korean ranked #1 when he hasn't won? I don't know who he's talking about. He may be thinking of the women's tour.
Yeah, the number one player right now is certainly not Korea. So listen, I think we got what, 2 tournaments? No, we've got 3 tournaments still before the next major. We've got the Rocket Mortgage, then everybody's favorite, the John Deere Classic.
That's the one that our Ryder Cup captain wins every freaking year.
Yeah, Zach Johnson wins that every year. And then and then Barbasol, and then we got to go to Scotland. So July 20th is a long way away. So
all right, you got one more pick, JC.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, I got Hideki, Ju Young, Alston, and Ricky. You have Tony Finau, Justin Thomas, and Colin Morikawa. You got one more guy.
Okay, so I get to pick 4. All right. Well, then with that pick, I'm absolutely going off the grid this time, and I'm going to take Cameron Champ.
Man, I ain't heard of him in a long time.
He's still there, believe it or not.
That's our Peachland Dental golf picks for this weekend. Daniel says, by the way, there's something to losing weight and playing good golf. JC, he says since he started dropping pounds, he shot his lowest round ever, 81 at Southampton in Jacksonville.
That is very good. Great golf course, Southampton, awesome place. Kind of out there a little bit.
That's in St. Johns County, right?
Yeah, it's either that or west. It's west. It's west of the coast. It's a great course, man. It's a great course. I think that's true. Lose a little weight, get a little upper body strength. I mean, I don't have to go out and buy another $800 driver. I think I can just get in better playing shape, I guess. Yeah. And it's raining like hell right now. I can't believe this. But I think the sun's coming out today. But yeah, so oh, he took my wet dog. Get in here, Toto. Oh my God, you're soaked.
Dog is soaked.
So all right, so QB, I mean, listen, it was a bad night, but hey, the future is bright. The future is so bright for Gator baseball. Don't sweat it, folks. Don't sweat it at all. You might be right back where we found ourselves this year. Right back.
Well, here's the other thing. I think Sully has been our coach for 15 years or 16 years.
Been a while. Been quite a while.
Do you know how many times we've been to Omaha? Under Sully?
Under Sully?
Yeah.
About 3.
8.
3? 8? I said 3. Jeez.
Or maybe it's I could be wrong. Somebody correct me on this, but I could have sworn I heard that yesterday.
Might be right. But the great thing about this league is that we've had 5 out of the last 6 champions and not one repeat winner.
How many times have we've played for the title but didn't win it?
Well,
South Carolina. Didn't we lose to South Carolina in the championship series? We lost to LSU.
Could be.
Yeah, Tim says we've been 8 times under Sully to Omaha. You know how hard that is?
Yeah. I mean, and that's why it seems so strange that we haven't been since 2017 to Omaha. Is that right?
Well, we had some issues, but so we've lost 3 series. See, Tony, appreciate it, Tony. So we've been 8 of the 15 years that Sully's been here. We've lost 3 times in the national championship series. This week against LSU, South Carolina, and Texas.
Well, I will say, along with Billy Donovan and maybe someone else I'm forgetting that should be obvious, Tim Walton, Foley hired O'Sullivan, and you gotta hand it to him for the coaching that he brought in for these spring sports. I'm not going to talk about football, but basketball and then these other sports, he has hired great coaches.
Yeah, but I mean,
JC,
for all those Twitter people that really pissed me off this week, they need to understand athletics and sports and how difficult it is. Remember, there's only 8 damn teams in America that go to Omaha, and he's done it 8 out of 15 years.
I know.
The more you think about it, it's incredible.
It's great, and
and they ain't going to miss a beat because somebody mentioned on here earlier that Nick Delatorre, who probably covers the Gator baseball program better than anyone, said that they're getting a big time transfer that hasn't been announced. He's not going to break the news because he's going to let the kid break the news. So who knows who that may be?
Well, could be an LSU pitcher.
Wouldn't that be good? Paul Skeen's coming back for an extra year.
No, yeah. Well, but by the way, since you brought his name up, we spent a hell of a lot of time talking about a guy that never played. Of course, that's because of the way the game went. But he was going to play. He was going to pitch. But you know what I didn't need? I didn't need in the second and third inning watching the guy, get the dirt off his cleat in the warm-up room. I didn't need all that. But listen, I'm jealous. The guy's great. He'll be here's the top 3 picks. And I'm just going to say it because this is what it should be. It doesn't mean it will be. Skeens will go to Pittsburgh. The center fielder,
Dylan Cruz.
He will go to the Washington Nationals. And our beloved Trenton Tiger, Wyatt Langford.
You don't think any Dominican kid's going to be in top
Wyatt
3?
Langford will be in Texas.
Somebody put here earlier, I think it's a 75-game reach base streak. That dude has got 75 straight games going back to last year. That's unbelievable.
You cannot convince me that anybody from the Caribbean or anybody in high school who's 19 years old or 18 years old is better at number 3 than Wyatt Langford.
I agree. He's one of the best hitters I've ever seen. But there's some 14-year-old shortstop over in the Dominican that the Yankees probably love that they're going to draft.
That's great. They can pay him $20 billion. But I'm telling you right now, Skeens to Pittsburgh, Cruz to Nationals, and Wyatt Langford to Texas. If that doesn't happen,
I think the third picker are the Tigers, Detroit.
I heard it was Texas. Okay, call it Detroit. Whoever it is.
It doesn't matter. That's
where Wyatt Langford's going. He's going.
So here's another. I mean, think about this, JC, and all you Twitter bashers out there that are listening to the program.
The keyboard warriors.
Only 8 teams out of 298 make it to Omaha. Think about that.
Yeah. Well, Florida is a traditional powerhouse in baseball.
And they ain't going anywhere. So before we get you out of here, John has a question. He says, QB, do you know anything about the new pitching coach for softball? No, I know she's been at multiple stops, but you got to trust Tim Walton and their research that he went and found the best he could find. I mean, obviously, Jen Rocha ain't leaving Oklahoma to come back.
He's got 2 pitchers.
She's the best.
What's he got?
They got
right now?
Yeah, but he's got a new pitching coach. He fired the other guy, but he's got the two top pitchers in America are coming.
They're coming. Okay. So, because on the roster, I think he's only got 2 right now.
Yeah, right? Don't even look at the roster. He's got the number 1 recruiting class coming in, and they got the 2 top pitchers in America.
Well, you got to have that if you're going to compete with the dynasty, and
Well, a lot of their girls are transferring, which is crazy. Their pitcher transferred to Nebraska.
That's
and then they have a bunch. They have a bunch of other like role players that if you look at their stats, they have like 12 home runs, 14 home, and they're all transferring.
They're crazy. But think about how you're sitting in Nebraska somewhere and you think to yourself, well, I've got an spare $250,000. I think I'm going to write a check to this Oklahoma pitcher.
Well, she's from Nebraska. She's from that area.
There you go. Okay.
But here's the thing. I don't know why. I mean, she's won 2 national titles.
Yeah, she's a winner.
Why not go win another one? I mean, I would not want to go.
It's money.
Nebraska.
It's total money. Money spent.
Well, you don't think Oklahoma? I was told by a little birdie out there, that the Stanford pitcher, is either going into the portal or has already committed to OU and is getting almost $300,000.
Yeah. So this chick from Oklahoma is going to get that. So listen, that's the world we're in right now. People throwing it around everywhere, and so just hope you get your share. That's really all you have to do. You don't have to get the best or the most expensive. Just get your share of good ones, and then ride with them and see what happens. Football is very encouraged right now. I mean, you've got these recruits that are given verbal commitments. Keep that in mind, folks. Verbal, but that's good. It's better than not getting anything, right? So hopefully the Gators don't start off 1-2 this year. So that's the thing. Those verbal commitments can also become very quiet if you start off 1-2. Now, I'm not saying that'll happen, but you got Utah, nobody, and then Tennessee. It could happen. So
it could, but it could also be 3-0.
Absolutely, and then you might get more verbals. It could go either
Well,
way.
I think we're almost capped out, but I don't know. Franz knows all that stuff, but
Well,
they
Franz is
did.
good. He'll tell you. I like listening to Franz. He's got good information, and that's worth your time for sure.
Sorry, before we let you go, Joseph says, how in the hell is LSU giving the pitcher for Tennessee NIL offers when he wasn't even in the portal? Tennessee stepped up and matched it, but that's tampering at its best. It's happening everywhere, man. It's happening everywhere.
Tampering is the thing with me. We talked about this about 6 months ago. That's the biggest problem for me, and it just really bothers me too because that's just.
Well, here's how it works. It may not. I can tell you exactly how it's working because coaches have told me. So, JC is a player that everybody in America wants.
Yeah.
I'm the coach at Florida. This dude over here is a coach. Let's just say I'm a coach at Florida. Let's say you're on scholarship with Tennessee. All I got to do is I have somebody contact one of your travel baseball team coaches or somebody at the bank where your dad works and say, hey, would JC be interested in playing for School X? And they say yes. Well, are they tampering? Yes, but the coaches ain't tampering. It's other people doing the tampering. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I know. It's called an end run. And that is absolutely right. That's how it works to get out of the legal issues. But I guess that's just the way it is, right? So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. And then Joseph says, we'll talk about this another day. Trent Differ said he's calling out coaches that come after his players at UAB, no matter who they are. Well, look, Trent tampered bringing kids to his private school there in outside of Nashville when he was high school coaching. So look, if anybody from UAB wants to leave and go to LSU, Florida, or Alabama, they're going to do it.
They're going to do it.
Yep. All right, JC, we got to get to Franz. Have a good day. Big Red Machine is signing off. That's JC. Join us on the Tight Number Hotline. We'll take a quick timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by Franz Beard. Talk a little Gator recruiting and all kinds of other stuff. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Well, welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Prime and Pearl, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Skechers, F45, and the HBC's restaurant. Spurs Gridiron Grill, the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in America. We'll see you at Celebration point. We're going to go to the Tight Number Hotline now. We're going to be joined by Gator Bait Media's Franz Beard, the man that knows everything about Gator sports. Franz, real quick before we jump into the Gators, John had a comment here, and I mentioned this last week or a couple of weeks ago. The state of Florida now allows you to go to any high school that you want to, but then you can play the sport somewhere else. And so that means Franz can go to Gainesville High School as a student, go play football at Buchholz. Then when it's basketball season, you could go to Eastside and play basketball. And if you want to go down to North Marion and Ocala, you can play baseball. Dumbest damn rule ever. But the state of Florida is so screwed up when it comes to the FHSA, so don't even get me started on that. Franz, you got any thoughts on that before we move on?
Yeah, well, it sounds just like the NCAA, what they're trying to pull off. Yesterday, they, Stan Wilcox, without question, the worst athletic director they ever had at FSU, now is the executive vice president of the NCAA, which is headed by Charlie Baker, who is another one who is rock bottom when it comes to actually knowing about sports. They issued a directive that says that NCAA rules take precedent over state law. Said if you're a member of the NCAA, for example, with NIL, which they are clueless about to begin with, the NCAA rules take precedent because you're a voluntary member of the NCAA. Now, Shane, the NCAA is like 0 for 36 bazillion against, in the courts. I mean, the last time I think they won a court case, Teddy Roosevelt was the president. So that goes back a couple of years. And they've lost everyone since then. This is going to get challenged. Texas is already lining up its lawyers. They're going after them. And the NCAA is going to lose again. They're going to waste $1 million or more on lawyer fees. And they're going to go to court and they're going to get snookered once again. I mean, absolutely creamed. And they keep doing this stuff. And what does that tell me? Guys, the NCAA is doing their damnedest to push you out and make you form a brand new organization with its own set of rules. That's what it's telling me.
Yeah, and it's going to happen eventually. Franz, let's briefly talk about baseball. Obviously, not the outcome that all the Gator Nation wanted, but still a heck of a year. I'm going to ask you, I just want to get your overall thoughts. I try to tell people, and we talked about it earlier with JC, Sully's been there 8 times since he's been our head coach. We've played for the national title 4 times, lost 3 of them, won 1. But I was bringing this up because, if you get on Twitter, people want Sully fired. It's just nonsense. But my question to you, and you've been around this sport for a long time, when people have successful programs like the Skip Bertmans, Tim Corbin at Vanderbilt, the old coach that used to be at Texas, and Sully, why does the Major League Baseball never go after college baseball coaches?
Well, they did once. A guy named Bobby Winkles, who had won a couple of national championships at Arizona State when he had Joe Rudy and Sal Bando, and this guy Reggie Jackson, I think it was, pretty good ball player, if you say, and Kenny Holtzman, a pitcher. They had Arizona State at one point in time was loaded, and Bobby Winkles, the White Sox hired him straight out of college, and he got up there. And here's the difference. It's kind of like why so many college football coaches don't succeed when they go up to the NFL. And then all of a sudden, when you're in college, you're playing for your team. You don't have a lot of money to go out and play around with and things like that. So you're hanging around with your teammates, everything like that. You go to the NFL, everybody's got a big old salary. Even the rookies, you're making $400,000, $500,000 a year. That's a lot of money. That's more money than they're going to earn in the real world coming straight out of college. And so what do? They go their separate way. And coaches in college get this team together and they bond with the team. They're part of the team. The coach is with them everywhere. They go out to eat together, everything like this. You get up there in Major League Baseball, what happens after the game's over? Everybody gets on the bus, goes back to the hotel. As soon as they get to the hotel, everybody goes their own way. And I am convinced that this is the biggest reason why college coaches fail in just about every sport. I mean, you look at Billy Donovan. Everybody says Billy Donovan, from an X and O standpoint, is as good as there is in the NBA. So what's the problem? Well, he doesn't have a team together that bonds together like Golden State has done, for example. And again, you got guys that are making more money than the coach. You look at the typical NBA roster. You probably have 10 guys on it who make more money than the coach. And, do they want to hang around with the coach, go out with the coach? Do they want to say, hey, coach, let's have breakfast together. Hey, coach, let's have lunch together before we practice. No, they don't. And I'm convinced that that's the biggest reason why guys don't succeed up there. Now, Sully would have a chance, I think, because he's been with the Minnesota Twins organization before he went back into college coaching. And he knows what it's like up there and what's expected up there, et cetera, like that. He would have a chance, but you have most college coaches who don't have that experience, and they would fail.
Yeah, Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. Franz Beard on the Titanmore Hotline. I want give us a recap of what the guys transferring into the baseball program. But JB has a question here. What happened to the 6'8" pitcher that was supposed to be ready halfway through the year?
He developed a little bit of an issue, and they had to go in there and scope his shoulder and get some like little fragments and bone spurs and whatever out. You had shoulder surgery before, didn't you?
No, never had it. Never had it.
Okay. Well, I've had rotator cuff, for example, and typically, they did mine and they had to take bone fragments out and stuff like that. I know people who have had their rotator cuff surgery, and 3 weeks later they're back in, or a month later or a week later, however, and they're getting little bone fragments that they didn't get out when they had the surgery. And this is what happened to him. Is Pierce Coppola, and he came out of high school a couple years ago, was a real hot shot, and he was actually the Sunday starter in 2 years ago when Florida played Liberty, and he was the starter, and he got some issues there. He was coming back from it, and all of a sudden they found some fragments and things like that. They had to go in there and take them out, kind of vacuum them out, clean it up. Hopefully he'll be ready next year. Another one they have that had similar problems, and they've fixed him up too, is a kid came out of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas named Jake Clemente, and he's another big time pitcher who they're going to have next year. He's a guy. Both these guys, Coppola is a guy that throws like Caglione, only he's always thrown with great control. He's 6'7", 6'8", left-handed, that throws absolute darts. And then Clemente is a big, strong right-handed kid, throws, I'd say 96, 97 consistently, and he'll be ready next year as well. So they've got pitchers in the fold that really do have a lot of talent. There will not be a lack of talent next year. There may be some lack of experience in some cases, but Coppola should be ready to go. I would expect they'll bring him along very slowly next year. Same with Clemente, and they'll get most of their work on in weekdays. They'll be your weekday starters, because typically they play they'll play a couple of midweek games, and I think that's where they'll get most of their stuff. And then once they get into the SEC schedule, these guys you'll start seeing them coming in an inning here, 2 innings there, et cetera, like that.
Facebook Live question here, or Joseph says, Clemente is a baller. My buddy coaches baseball at Stoneman Douglas. Sully has been on that kid since the 8th grade. Titan our text line from Jimmy. Jimmy says, Franz, give us your thoughts on this 24 class. I know it's just verbal commitments, but could it be one of the best that Florida's ever had?
From a pitching standpoint, I'd say
No, I think he's referring to football. He's talking about
football. Football. Oh, heavens, yeah. This football class is lining up to be superb. And Shane, you hate to pin it all on one guy, but you've been a quarterback and you know that. It's the single most important position in all of sports. Why is that? Because you're the one guy that handles the ball every single offensive play. There is no such thing as an offensive play without the quarterback handling the ball. So it starts with DJ Lagway, and it turns out he's somewhat of a Pied Piper. But you look at the guys they're bringing in. For example, the most recent kid, Jeray Hawkins, who's a kid out of Wheeling, West Virginia, who's coming down to IMG Academy, and he's a legitimate 10-4 sprinter, but he's never been coached. This is a kid that probably, when he gets to Florida and they start working really on the speed angle, he's a kid that's probably going to be running like a 10-1, 10-2, 100 meters. He's probably going to be running like a low 4.3, like a 4.32, 4.34, 40. He's a defense stretcher. This kid is coming because he says, hey, DJ Lagway, I want to play with you. And they're loading up on defensive guys, particularly in the defensive line. I think what we're going to see the rest of the recruiting class is they're going to go after the offensive guys. Okay. They've loaded up. They've got the defensive guys they want. You look at what they did last year with their recruiting and how they recruited strong defensive guys. Guess what? They have really loaded up 2 straight recruiting classes when you add it together. Urban Meyer once told me that the way you judge recruiting isn't by one class. He says, now you may get a bunch of studs in this one class, but what you got to do is when you put them together, you need to be somewhere close to a 2 deep with your 2 classes, because you're bringing in, 50 kids? So you need to be able to have a 2 deep, something similar to it. And this is what they've got. I'm looking at it, and Shane, I'm just so impressed with the way they're filling the gaps. They're filling the holes. This was the roster that Billy inherited. I got to tell you, was not an SEC roster. You're talking about maybe a Sun Belt roster. Literally.
I've been saying that. I've been saying that the last 3 years, especially the front 7 on defense has been atrocious.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is why he brought in this kid, and he's going to be a difference maker in the middle. Taraja Mitchell. Look out for him. He's from Ohio State. How good was he? He was voted captain of the team last year at Ohio State. Now, he only got to play like 1 ball game because he got hurt. But this is a guy that was voted the captain of the team, a former 5-star middle linebacker. You get a guy like that who's hungry to prove himself, and this is the place he's going to become to prove himself. He's the guy that's going to play with a chip on his shoulder. You get a guy like that in the middle, and you got something going. You need guys with a chip on their shoulder. You need like a Tony Rowell, who you had when they moved Tony Rowell to, I believe it was right guard. When you played, that offensive line all of a sudden got ferocious because you had that guy who plays with a chip on his shoulder, and he inspires everybody to play with the same level and intensity that he has. They got him. The 2 big guys they've got up front. I'll tell you what, the Banks kid, the one they got out of Memphis, who's 6'6" and 358, 360, he is going to be that guy at nose tackle that can't be moved. Now, you look at what they had the last couple of years at nose tackle. I mean, no offense to Desmond Watson, but you got to have a nose tackle that's got to be good for more than 1 play at a time. Okay. You got to have a guy that can stay in there and play 5 or 6 snaps in a row. This is a guy that can do it, and he's mean and he's nasty. I think Desmond Watson will play a lot this year, and I hope that he gets his weight down to, say, 380, 390. I think at that rate, at that level, he can play. But until he gets down there in the 380s, I think they're going to have a problem. So this is why it was so important to get Caleb Banks, who came in from Memphis, in the transfer portal. But they're going to be big. They're going to be like 360, 6'7", 325 on the outside. And then they got Princely, I can't pronounce his name.
Just call him Princely. That's what I do. On radio, I just call him Princely.
Okay, good. Thank you, Shane, for you've just bailed me out on that one. Yeah. I owe you one. But you get Princely in there on the other side. And even Pro Football Focus says this is one of the 10 best defensive linemen in the country. They looked at him. They do the analytics. They're basing this on analytics. And they say this guy is going to be the breakout guy in the SEC this year. And I agree with that. You get a guy like that out there, and then you bring in other guys that can play on the edge, et cetera, like that. The defense is going to shape up. Shane, the parallels to what happened with Billy in 2018 to 2019 at Louisiana and what is going on here, they're eerily similar. I mean, it is uncanny, the similarities. You take, I did it in my column today, and I compared those, year 1 to year 2, and then I put in the numbers for Florida for year 1 there. In their first year at Louisiana, they gave up 200. They ran for like 217 yards a game, and they gave up 219 yards a game on the ground. You can't win giving up 200 yards a game on the ground. And yet they went from that, they dropped down 80 yards. I mean, not 80 yards. They dropped down like 50 yards the next year. They went from like the 112th ranked rushing defense down to about in the 50s. That's significant improvement. Last year, the Florida team gave up 175 yards on the ground, which was ranked like 105th nationally, something like that. This year, they've got the big studs on the defensive line. They got the guy in the middle that you're going to need. I think Derek Wingo is going to come out and have a good year now that he's healthy. What a smart really does have the skill. I think that what you're going to see is that, just as you said, defensively, the changes that we're going to see there are going to be remarkable. I think, Pro Football Focus says Florida's the number 20 team in the country.
Yeah, I've seen it. On 3 has them there too. And I'm telling you, they're going to win 8 games. And when you jump on the bandwagon now. But anyway, friends, we've already run out of time. Real quick, let people know how they can read your stuff.
GatorbaitMedia.com. And you can follow me on Twitter. Just look for Franz Beard. I'm there. And I'm on Twitter as well. And I hate Twitter, but I use it anyway.
Franz, real quick, Andy wants to know how many wins this year.
8, I think. And if stars and planets align 9.
Yeah.
I think 9.
Minimum 8. Minimum 8's mine.
8 and 4. 8 and 4 is good. 9 and 3 is reasonable, and if the stars and the planets align, they could win 10. They almost won 10 last year. I mean, goodness, they could have been a 10-2 team last year. They also could have been a 3-9 team last year.
Yep.
So this year, I think they find the consistency they're looking for.
Good stuff as always, my man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That's Franz Beard joining us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends Life with Campus USA Credit Union. 2012, the NBA draft, Kentucky center Anthony Davis was the first pick of the New Orleans Pelicans. That's This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Silverback Concrete's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. I want to thank Franz Beard and JC for joining us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. And I agree 100% with Franz on his assessment defensively. I've been telling you people ever since this podcast started, probably 3 years ago, right when COVID hit, that our front seven on defense was not even close to being SEC caliber, and they have addressed that this year as much as they can, but definitely for the 24 season. So hopefully that pays dividends. I still think 8 wins minimal. I'm sticking to my guns. Hope you have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.